Now in Thailand is amazing because they have like rhythm sections, bass and drums that kind of travel around together and get paid to do gigs. And a lot of the time you get like a expat singer and guitarist, and he'll hook up with the bass and drums, and they'll learn everything perfectly. Then I went to a blues bar, and some guy played this sort of 8-9 minute blues stroke jazz thing, and I was like, wow, that's good. And someone said, yeah, he's learned that. Like none of that was improvised at all.
Just learns it literally note for note.
Yeah, note for note. And I mean, it's a bit too much of a tangent, but I wonder how much society, that's a reflection of society, or society reflects on music. I don't know, maybe. But.
Well, I mean, if you think of like in places like China and Japan, there's a lot of kind of child prodigies there who can play classical piano perfectly, and they can play violin perfectly. I don't know how much creativity there is in that though. Yeah,
while multiplying to 12 decimal places at the same time. No, I know what you mean. Yeah, but that's sort of all been proved that that's mainly learned, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a guy, I think it was a Russian guy, who just had twin daughters and decided he was going to turn them both into chess grandmasters, and he did.
Yeah, he did. And
a bit of a coincidence otherwise, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, another thing I've noticed that we're obviously both teachers. My students are always very puzzled when I can't tell them what the lyrics of a song mean, or I don't understand what they mean.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. Like you take, I don't know, let's take Radiohead as an example. I mean, some of their lyrics don't appear to make any sense at all, Some do and some don't.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are pretty abstract. I'd say.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I think it was in Thailand more than in Italy or Spain. They were kind of thinking, oh, does this guy know what he's doing? Because why do you not know what this song's about? And the thing is that all the songs I learned in Italy, and I didn't really learn any in Thailand, but all the ones I learned in Italy, the lyrics are very obvious. And you may know more than me, because I've only been in Spain just over a year. Do you get many abstract or poetic lyrics, or do you know? Or?
I don't know, because I don't really... I mean, to be honest, I don't listen to enough Spanish music to be able to tell you much about that. I mean, I know that every other song has the word corazón in it.
Right, yeah.
But that's about it.
Well, I mean, that might make sense with the 80s, because, I mean, the 80s has so many, love ballads. I mean, I know every era's got ballads, but the 80s seem to be... Because I grew up in the 80s, I guess we're roughly the same age, aren't we? I grew up in the 80s, and before I knew about the Smiths and the Cure and everything, I was just full on, me and my sisters were just Radio 1, chart music, didn't really know anything else until I discovered the 60s, weirdly enough, afterwards. But I look back on it now, and it's all so self-conscious, But actually, if you listen to the songs, a good example, there's quite a few covers band who play Save a Prayer by Duran Duran.
Right.
Duran Duran are not anything like a fashionable band to like in England at all. I imagine they've probably got a decent following in Europe. But something like Save a Prayer, if you just play it on an acoustic guitar, it's pretty good, I mean, weirdly enough, I do as this kind of novelty cover. I used to do a blues version of Like a Virgin, because I used to do covers gigs, and a friend, I asked, give me a song to play, and someone for a laugh said Like a Virgin. I thought, I'll do it in the style of Elvis, and I've done it a few times. But actually, I kind of got to like it. Actually, it's not bad, decent chords and everything and all that.
Yeah.
But what spoiled all that stuff is like these really long synth intros and all this kind of very self-conscious.
Yeah, a lot of
earnestness.
I mean, synths. They're a bit unnecessary sometimes.
In their place.
In their place, they're cool.
They're alright.
Yeah. But no, I've been I've had the idea for quite a long time, but I've never actually got around to doing it. I think it would be quite funny to learn one or two, really cheesy power ballads to play them acoustically. Because it's not something that anyone does.
In a different style, or not?
Maybe change it a bit, or maybe just learn one and do it as it is, just as a surprise at an open mic night.
Well, there's a few people who do these spoof. There's a guy called Richard Cheese. And Paul Anka, who's a famous singer.
Yeah.
And they do these hilarious stuff like jazz version of Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah, and
load up on drugs, bring your friends. And it's actually really good.
And there's one of them did a version of Creep as well.
Oh yeah.
They're really kind of crooning and
yeah. That's a good idea though.
Oh yeah, I like stuff like that. But I find the appeal is kind of quite limiting. It's kind of a novelty. You listen to it once or twice and then doesn't have much longevity.
I think I might have asked Richard this. What's the future of music? I mean, if we suddenly woke up in 40 years' time, what would guitar bands be doing? Because how many more places are there to go? I mean, honestly.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't think music has really progressed much since about 1973.
Right.
Most of the stuff I prefer is either from before then or heavily influenced from a period before then.
Yeah.
Even in terms of the sound of it as well. I mean, obviously recording techniques have improved a lot.
Even that's not always a good thing, though, is it? 'Cause
But if you listen to, I was listening to Like a Rolling Stone the other day, and I just found it really hard to believe that that's 50 years old.
Oh, the Dylan version.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
And that it still sounds so fresh.
Yeah, well, I remember
vibrant. And I mean, to be honest, I don't think music is going to change that much in terms of the sound. Obviously, the business is going to. I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Who knows?
I mean, that's a different conversation.
It's hard to even imagine 10 years, let alone 40 years.
Yeah.
Well, what about the world, you know?
Yeah.
If we really want to go on tangents, you know?
Yeah.
We're really going to survive another 100 years without using nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
But yeah, music. I mean, it's very it's a very cyclical thing. It always kind of goes back to the past at some point.
Well, I think it's fair to say that the 90s was a kind of throwback to the 60s.
Yeah, a lot of kind of retro
the 60s
stuff.
in reverse. Well, I'll tell you actually, one of the reasons that came out was because of acid house and ecstasy and everything. What happened was that the 80s was pretty anti-60s, really. You know, a lot of those bands. What would happen is all these people would go to clubs, do their whatever their pharmaceutical of choice was, and then come back and listen to 60s music while they're, you know, coming down, basically.
Yeah.
And, you know, something like the Doors, I mean, I really like the Doors. I know a lot of people don't like them, but in the 80s, like, the Doors have pretty much been forgotten, and then, you know, the Oliver Stone film comes out. But not only that, you know, I'm sure this thing I've just said about it's kind of basically as come down music or chill out music for the next day. I'm sure that's right.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's why some more of the kind of quieter stuff became popular as well. I think the first time I heard Nick Drake was actually kind of on a Sunday after quite a heavy night, and that was the first time I heard Nick Drake, and it had quite a profound effect actually.
Yeah.
Partly because of the mood I was in at the time, because I hadn't really slept much or anything, but no, also because I was just surprised that I hadn't heard him before.
Yeah.
And then immediately for the rest of that week, I was trying to learn to play some of his songs, and I basically learned how to fingerpick from listening to Nick Drake actually.
Did you know his story when you were listening? Cause
a little bit, yeah.
When you find out his story,
later on, I got his biography and read that. And
it's quite depressing reading, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a very good documentary called A Skin Too Few, which is on YouTube for anyone listening and for you. Because I find with him, his story it does magnify the music like 20 times, because you suddenly think. I mean, he did write a song about, what was the one he wrote? He wrote "Fame is like a fruit tree," which is kind of about how fleeting
another one called Day is Done.
When the Day is Done, yeah. And then of course towards the end he wrote "Black Eyed Dog," which was basically about depression. Yeah, that's amazing music, really.
It's a shame there's no videos of him. He was such a shy person, I think. Apparently when he performed, often he performed with his back to the audience.
Yeah. Well, he did barely any gigs as well. One of the problems was that he had this, I don't know if you know what the tuning is, but the tuning is crazy. I mean, you have to, I think, change 5 of the 6 strings.
It's different for different songs. He uses like 6 or 7 different tunings.
Yeah, and apparently at some gigs he'd spend ages tuning, and everyone would just tune out, excuse the pun. And there's a little bit of audio. He's extremely posh, actually.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing, you know. Pink Floyd were posh, Radiohead are pretty posh.
Yeah, they're posh.
Nothing wrong with posh. But all right. Actually, one other thing before the song. You're involved in quite a few different projects. So you got Patient 108. Do you do solo gigs on your own?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I haven't done so much recently.